I'm Mike.
I'm Jason.
Welcome to Snake Envy. We're doing another question of the day, and this one I feel like was custom tailored for us. You have developed a reputation over the years for your morphs. You even have a couple morphs named after your company, the Envy Snow, and don't you have another one? That's the one? Okay. But those, the Envy Snow, very well known. They're everywhere. There's other breeders breeding those. But the question today, and we hope that you will answer it in the comments as well, is whether when purchasing snakes or breeding snakes, you prefer normals and wild types or morphs. What's your favorites? So let's start with you.
A good friend of mine, we talked about this often, but and I don't know if I really hear other people talk about it as much as we did, but we are like both, I'm just a huge fan of locality color morphs, so you get a little bit of both. I love both. I do a lot of herping. I love seeing animals in the wild. It's one of my favorite things to do. But in saying that, I'm known as a morph guy. Yeah. Like, I have all these morphs.
You say that like it's a dirty word.
Well,
it is for some people.
Some people treat you like it's bad.
Yeah.
and I noticed a lot of, like, it's usually the normal pattern people that like normal colored snakes are usually the most blunt about it. Like,
it's funny though, because when I go to expos and when I see what people are posting online when they get new snakes, I don't think morphs have ever been more popular.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes I feel like I'm in the minority because I'm that guy who does prefer normals or wild types. And similar to what you said, it started for me in the wild. My love of snakes started in the wild, and then that led to keeping them as pets. And so I've always had a real fondness for the way they look in the wild. And particularly the iconic ones. I mean, a California king snake to me is high contrast. It's black and white or brown and white. And I'll be honest, I cannot wrap my head around albino California kings. I do not get it. They're very low contrast. That lavender color just kind of washes them out.
I agree.
And I cannot wrap my head around that at all. But by the same token, when I see some of the albino, like San Diego gopher snakes, they're beautiful. They're really bright, vibrant colors. And I wouldn't buy them, but I kind of get it. And I get, well, like albino applegates and things like that, those oranges, I understand why they're popular. And even learning about your collection more over the last few months and seeing so many of your snakes up close now, like patternless and white-side bulls, I completely ignored those in the past. I didn't even, like at the expo, I would go around those. I had no interest at all, didn't get it, didn't understand it. Some snakes you just have to see up close to appreciate it.
I agree.
And then when you see these patternless and white sides up close, there's these subtle things going on where now I'm kind of like, okay, I can understand that. I still don't think I'd own one, but I get it. So it does make a big difference when you see them up close. But to further answer the question, in 40 plus years of keeping snakes off and on, I acquired my very first albino a couple months ago, an albino house snake. So, and you know this, it wasn't because the snake was albino, it was because it was a species that I'm really interested in right now, and it was a good opportunity, so I jumped on it. I didn't get it because it was albino, but I love it, and I'm happy I have it. But yeah, very first albino ever for me.
They really don't look like albinos. They just look like normals to me. Like,
yeah.
And then until you see a normal.
Yeah, until you see a normal. And it does have a little faded pattern and, you know. So, but that answers that question for me. I've never owned an albino prior to now. So I've always enjoyed normals and wild types. Is there a wild type for you where you're either very passionate about it or you don't get it, and why would anybody want that? They're more beautiful the other way as an albino or whatever.
I'm sure. I'm just thinking. Still one of my favorite snakes to see in the wild. Like, and it's like makes me so happy when I see these. Is just a California king snake, a black and white California king snake in the wild.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need morphs because they're beautiful.
Yeah.
They're beautiful anyway, like even the browns and yellows, but the black and white ones, just like if you're driving along and you see one crossing the road and you like you know instantly what that is.
Yes.
And I get excited. I love king snakes.
It's so iconic. Now considering you're a breeder and you breed the desert phase California kings, which are particularly known for their contrast, high white, high black. This is a great question for you. Is there any such thing anymore in captivity as a true wild type of those? Or is everybody kind of selecting to make sure they get the best whites and the best blacks?
I think there's definitely folk refining those bloodlines, line breeding them for stronger, bolder colors. But yeah, I feel like there's plenty of very standard wild like looking type of cow kings in the hobby. I mean, I have some just over here that just hatched, and some of them look like they could have been from wild cots. And then some of them in the same clutch have 70% white. So
there's some snakes today where I don't even know if the wild types are really hard to find. I love the normal locality stillwater bull snakes, but try finding one. The hypos dominate.
Well, I don't even know how many normals there is.
Exactly.
Of that locality.
Yeah.
One thing, touching on this subject a little bit, when you said from being in captivity so long, I've always been curious about a lot of these Mexican subspecies, like Theri and some of these milks and kings in Mexico.
Yes.
Like, those been imported 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Do they still look like that in the wild? And yes, some of them do. I've found Cinnalolans and
milk snakes in captivity kind of have a reputation for being hybridized pretty frequently, and so that's another one where you're not always certain even to what degree the milk snake you have is pure.
Yeah, I'm just talking like Theri have been worked with, variable kings have been worked with so much, and they're so vibrant. And I'm like, do they look like that in the wild? And I don't know personally. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of similarities there, but
that may be a better example.
Those extreme bright ones are just not, like, I don't know if those are common in the wild.
That's probably a better example than the Californias. Yeah, where they've been played with now for decades, and they truly are variable in the hobby. So let us know in the comments, what's your preference? Do you like the normal, the wild type, or do you prefer the morphs? The ball python craze was all about morphs, and it seems like hognose are going in that direction right now too. Tons and tons of morphs. So let us know in the comments. Thank you.
Thanks.